I thought I'd wear my football shirt since we're talking about Charlotte Regan Scrapper today. You know, it's not West Ham, but, you know, Leicester will do. They're my team, so we've got to get it in. Hello and welcome back to another Popcorn Chat. I hope you guys are doing well. In this video, I'm speaking to you about Charlotte Regan's feature film debut, Scrapper. I didn't know much about this film going into it. All I knew that it was a small indie film, that it had a really sort of bright, vibrant yellow poster. And I was very curious to check this out. It obviously had Harris Dickinson on the poster, so I'd seen him before in Triangle of Sadness and The Kingsman, that film. So I was curious to check this one out, and let's get into my thoughts. To say this is a debut feature film from Charlotte Regan is absolutely crazy to say. The whole vibes, the themes, everything about this film feels like it's been lived in, and it's got that kind of mature, you know, sort of filmmaking experience. Not to say it's like, you know, her first feature film is crazy. It's just wild what she's able to do in this. So in this film, we follow 12-year-old Georgie, who must confront her reality with her estranged father just after losing her mother. Whilst coping with grief and trying to understand a new parental figure in her life, she remains stubbornly resistant to his efforts. However, as the film develops, Georgie and her dad, Jason, realise that they both have a lot of growing up to do. The whole tone of the film is very bittersweet. At the heart of it is about grief and family dynamics, and there's definitely those comedic moments that cut through with that sort of sharp wit, and it kind of balances out that experience of grief and feels very much true to what it is. I'm not sure I've mentioned this on the channel before, but I lost my dad when I was younger. I lost him when I was 7, and in that first 5 minutes or so we realised that she is also experiencing grief. I felt, whoa, okay, this is going to hit me really hard in the emotions. And it does as things go on. There's certain things that felt very akin to myself. She doesn't really have an interest in football, but obviously she wears this West Ham shirt, so I could kind of relate to that as someone who grew up playing football as well. That was something that I did a lot when I was between the ages of like 8 and 16. That was my sort of life, was playing football. That was my main hobby. So to see this little kid running around grieving in a football shirt, yeah, it kind of spoke to me a bit. I do think that Lola Campbell as Georgie played a great role in this. I think it was great to see a young actress sort of coming into this, not with much experience, but I think she played really well. And I think those best moments do happen when she's there with Harris Dickinson playing Jason, when they bounce off each other and you can sort of feel those improvised moments and they feel very like organic, and I think that's when it works and says a lot about the characters, but also bleeding into who they are as people, you know. And there's more sort of joyous moments. I think that's when you can see these actors' abilities shine through, and it adds a lot to the characters. As I mentioned, I'd seen Harris Dickinson in a few things prior to this, and I do think this is his best performance. You know, in Triangle of Sadness, he's very much kind of comedic model that does what he has to in order to get through life. And then The Kingsman, I think it was, he was kind of fine in that one, but nothing wildly sort of, you know, groundbreaking. But this I thought was excellent from him, and I really think that he is one to watch. One of my favourite scenes has to be when they're on the train platform and Jason tries to encourage Georgie to play this game that him and her mother used to play, and they just pick a couple and they just riff off a dialogue between those two people, what they're really saying. And again, this was like an improvised moment. It feels very sort of organic. They're just trying to make each other laugh. In that moment, it feels like these characters are bonding, but you can tell that's also coming from Harris and Lola. And I think that's what makes it feel very genuine. And you're reminded that this is a independent film. It's BFI funded. And it genuinely feels like cinema because it feels like real people. And it feels like it's not this kind of stage thing. You know, there's a couple of people behind the camera, but there's not, you know, loads of people making this film. I think it's in that moment that I realised, you know, this is why I love indie cinema, because you have these moments and room to play for things like that. You're not going to move on and get the next shot, and they're allowed to have that space. And I think that's what Charlotte Regan does such a good job at, is allowing these two performers to have fun and just play with it and do what feels right for the character. Nonetheless, I do think this film has some weaknesses. I think some of the plot beats are kind of picked up and forgotten about at times. I wasn't too sure about the climbing part, you know, where she's like got the secret thing in her room. I could kind of see what they were going for, but it didn't really pay off for me. I do think that her best friend is a good addition. I do think that he's just there for comedic relief. I would like to have maybe seen a little bit more conversations between them at that point, but then again, are you talking about grief at 12 years old? I probably was, because I was weird, but you know, not every child does that. So yeah, I think there's certain points that I think could have been elaborated on, or even just, you know, maybe not included. Overall, I think the performances and the cinematography was great. I think all of these things carry the film and is what makes it genuinely a lot more enjoyable. It outweighs the negatives completely. Like, this is such a great indie British film that I hope more people see whenever it gets released. I think it's one that if you missed it at the cinema, you need to watch it as soon as it comes out on physical media or on streaming. I think you need to watch this one and have a good cry. I think you'll all cry, because I definitely did. So I'm going to give Scrapper 3 out of 5 stars. Thank you so much for watching this review of Scrapper. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Let me know your thoughts down below if you've seen the film, or if you haven't, does it sound like one you're going to add to your watch list on Letterboxd? Let me know down below. And I'll see you guys very soon for another popcorn chat.